So I encourage the first type of approach to suffering for reasons of accelerating your focus, your meditative um, alignment, and so forth. On the whole, I recommend the second understanding of suffering, which is understanding its place instead of demonizing it, really understanding its place. Also in the relative workings, not only as inspiration to go absolute, but also as inspiration for the soul to be of service, to use it as a tool for purification. And I liked, they said one of the what is it? Not mottos, but of the brothers and sisters of sorrow is "Let me become empty." So first of all, your incarnation itself is painful, just the process of being born. And so that's already sacrifice, especially if you don't necessarily have to incarnate. It's already sacrifice to choose to incarnate. It's the biggest sacrifice. Because not only are you subjecting yourself, very much like the first portion that I read, to all the pain and the physical distress, the confusion, and the subjection to others, and the physical helplessness and stuff, especially in the first few years, that whole journey, like, of knowing that, okay, it's going to take me like 10 to 20 years to even get on my own feet to start with, like to get started. Up to that point, it's just a big gamble. Like, I'll get whatever I'll get. And of course, you program certain things and you are aware of certain probabilities, but still there's a lot of randomness even within that. And there's a lot of fluctuations in your life path. So, and you don't know for sure yet how you're going to respond to that. You can put all the guidance in place for your incarnation, but there might be a reason why you decide not to pay attention, or you decide to stay resistant to the messages and not wake up to why you came. So it is also the risk of forgetfulness. Well, it's a given that you'll forget, but that you'll never pick back up the path of awakening and service as to why you came here, which I think is the case for most of you guys. You didn't just come here for yourself, for your own, out of the necessity to learn. I think if you're part of this program, you're most likely attracted to this because you are of a wandering nature, as they say, meaning you came here to be of service. And so now you're awakening and you're remembering. So even just that, like, consider that, the fact that that's what you chose, with all the risks involved, with all the randomness involved, with all the forgetfulness and the pain and the limitation and subjection involved. And just pause for a moment to start there, because that's where your current journey started. That's what you chose. And just see if you can get in touch with the place whence you chose that. What state did you choose that from to go for another merry-go-round in this amusement park of pain, suffering, old age, and helpless childhood? What state must you have been in to be so besides yourself and so not in your right mind that you chose this? Again, when there, for some of you, or maybe even all of you, there was no actual need for it. So let's just assume that for a moment, even if it's not true for everyone, but let's assume it is true for everybody. If you chose it when there was no need for yourself, so it wasn't automatic, it wasn't like you have to, because it's your own level of learning, but you chose to because you felt the calling and the opportunity to be of service. Just picture what kind of sort of state or environment or density or love or light you'd have to be bathed in to be so foolish. What did that feel like when you were optimistic? The thing about love light too is, like, it forgets suffering very quickly. It forgets the intensity of it. You know, like half a day later or whatever, like, you're fine. Nothing happened. It's good. I feel great. So you forget what it's like when you're in it, because it's a different state. So similar, when you're not incarnate, you kind of forget what it's like. That's why I say you're not in your right mind. You're gullible, naive, loving, foolish. Or you could say courage. So yeah, just in a sense, appreciate where you come from and put your life in context to where you came from when you make that decision. Because often, what would be worse than, okay, you've already chosen it. It's too late now. Can't go back. Can't crawl back into your mom. I know a lot of guys would love to. Energetically, sorry. Give me that womb. But so it's too late. You can't go back. You're here. But the reason that you chose this, the intention, the state from which you chose this, if now you're not going to live up to that intention, if you're not going to resist it, wouldn't that be even worse? Like a wasted opportunity in a way. Of course, it's not totally wasted because you'll learn what you learn and all that stuff. And your vibration is still emanating. It's still helping. But just from a more personal point of view, like a personal accomplishment point of view almost, it's like, wouldn't it be so much better to just take the reins of this incarnation and live it according to the intention that gave literal birth to it? It didn't exist. You created this incarnation. It didn't exist. You created it out of thin air, out of the materials of this dimension that were available to you. You created this incarnation. You shaped it. You intended it. You created it. It didn't exist. It's not like an empty slot. Oh, who's going to take it? No, you created it. Does that make sense? Okay, and then there was a slot, but the slot was created. The parents, the circumstances, all that was created. But a lot of us are, and that is also to be accepted. That's part of the sorrow, and that's part of what we need to have compassion for in ourselves. But not compassion in the sense of complacency. I know the words kind of look alike, but they're not the same thing. So we got to have compassion for the fact that in some situations or states of mind, we are in resistance to why we created this in the first place, right? So we're battling ourselves, which makes sense because nobody likes discomfort. Nobody likes pain. Nobody likes abuse. Nobody likes fear. Nobody likes to have to play a large game, maybe in some cases, if it comes with all kinds of uncertainties and other fears and so forth. So we got to accept that, the fact that we have become limited beings in our thinking. We have to have patience for that, also like Ko said, or Aaron, I don't know. The importance of patience. And you asked me about patience, right? Yeah, so you can also refer back to that answer. It's like I'm not really a patient person, per se. I don't think I would be where I am had I been a patient person. And so I don't perceive anything wrong with my perfectionism. I don't perceive anything wrong with my impatience. I don't perceive anything wrong with my passion, with my romanticism, with my full-onness. I don't perceive anything wrong. I think it's beautiful. I love it. I think it's got me where I am. It's got this work to be where it is. And it allowed me to be a channel, as they say, for this. So, and similarly, you have all these personality traits, but it's important to turn them into your gifts, to not make them wrong. I think Bruce Lee also said once, in order to control myself, I first have to accept myself. And if I want to accept myself, I first have to, I'm paraphrasing, but I have to not fight who I am. I have to go with what I am. I have to go along with what I am. That includes everything we judge as deficiencies and so forth. Does this make sense? You want to first go with the flow, like Aikido style. Like go with that flow. Don't oppose it. Go with the flow, understand it, accept it, and then you'll be able to purify whatever distortions might be there, whatever ignorance might produce egotism that then hijacks the original intent for your incarnation by filling it up with all these randomness things. So that's why I appreciate perfectionism and passion and going for it no matter what and so forth, because it allows you to see so much more. It allows you to see so much more of the game. Anyway, but you have your own personality traits. It's not just about those. Those are just mine. But I'm not a patient person as a person. And I love that, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm never going to be a patient person, I don't think. I think that'd be detrimental. But I am also God. And God doesn't see difference. So in that non-differentiation, there's nothing to be impatient with. There's no one to be impatient about anything because there's no right or wrong. There's no success or failure. There's no you or me. So we want to become as transparent as we can to God's love, to God's total isness. And the way to do that is to become empty. And the way to become empty is to suffer, to hurt yourself, which is what suffering is you hurting yourself. There's no way around it, really. from a cosmic point of view, from a higher self point of view, even from a physical point of view, in some ways, you are hurting yourself. So why do you hurt yourself? What's the purpose of it? And let's not demonize it. Let's not make it wrong. Let's actually use it. Let's use that energy of suffering. Use that energy of challenge, of intensity, of catalyst, and use it as a purifying fire. And I like the word initiation that they use.